welcome to the Real CP Show. I'm your host, CP. And today's topic, this Native American was charged with burglary on a reservation and that he was very intoxicated. Shh. Yes. See, the thing about it is, for so many generations, when we say the word Native American, right, it's looked upon as a certain way, a certain people, right? And it's consistently about sympatheticness, right? Oh my goodness, the white man did this to them, the white man did that. But if you start talking about, hey, what about the personnel behind this culture who have been doing anti-American Black hatred for centuries, right? Then it's like, get over the past. That's some psychological or demonic tactics on that situation. But it consistently succeeds upon means of American Black personnel's mentality, with very few exceptions, right? See, the thing about it is, in this particular topic, this particular Native American was very intoxicated, burglarized a particular place, right? Became violent. But it's like, oh, we know people do, like, they see nothing, they hear nothing on this kind of situation, right? And it's a very disturbing scenario, because you have people, when you start relaying over the reality, they be like, well, it's not all Native. Man, you don't get the out of here. Get out of here with that game. Out of here with that game. Right? See, this is what they like to showcase as what a Native American, as far as, oh my goodness, the sadness and what the white man has done to their people and stuff like that. And I'm utilizing this clip as a timepiece purpose and utilizing this under a fair usage doctrine. Oh my goodness, this trash. See the tears? Oh my goodness. Look at this. What are you going to do about this? Yes. And that guy right there, people that don't know, he was actually an Italian American, particular part, and he was playing various types of Native particular people, whatever that's supposed to mean, because there's Black natives. See, it's interesting how you got even some people within American Blackism, Black Americanism, unfortunately, got some naiveness as well, that they're sitting there and call numbers of Black folks that say that they also have Native American within themselves. They call them pretendians. But if you start saying, whoa, wait a minute now, with that naive statement, because in the early 1900s, when you got a type of KKK minded type personnel that sit there and restructure numbers of Black Americans too in a generic, of numbers of Black natives in a genericality, and put them inside a black box, right? So you can tell who knows what they know, what they don't know, right? But at the same time, you start talking about, well, what you talking about, the $2.50 Indians and $5 Indians, well, what you talking about, those are the original pretendians. They get quiet, right? You see how that nonsense goes. But the point I'm getting at, let me go ahead, not forget that. Let me just go ahead and share my screen right quick. It's a very silliness of this game, but it's a very dynamic, and it's a brilliant tactic. So let me make sure you can see this, because it's not going to be a long show whatsoever. So as you can see, Little Eagle man sentenced to nearly 3 years in federal prison for first-degree burglary of a tribal home. But you really don't see what you see, right? Let's read. November 19, 2025, when this release came out. This particular United States legalness personnel announced today that at that particular time, that U.S. District Judge, that particular person, has sentenced a wink, wink, Native American man from Little Eagle, South Dakota, convicted of first-degree burglary. The sentencing took place on November the 3rd, 2025. Today is November the 25th, 2025. Jeff Allen Gray Cloud, age 28, was sentenced to 33 months in federal prison, followed by 2 years of supervised release in order to pay $100 special assessment to the Federal Crime Victims Fund. Gray Cloud, the wink wink Native American, was indicted by a federal grand jury in June of 2025. He pleaded guilty. On July the 15th, 2025. Shortly after midnight on February 25th, 2025, this Native American, parentheses, Gray Cloud, heavenly intoxicated, heavenly, not heaven, heavenly intoxicated, knocked on the door of a small family home in Little Eagle, South Dakota, in the Standing Rock Sioux Indian Reservation. Gray Cloud was looking for a friend. The father of the family did not recognize Gray Cloud, the Native American, parentheses, and refused to let him in. Undeterred, Gray Cloud barged into the home and began scuffling with the residents. Other supposedly Native Americans. Gray Cloud drew a knife, sounds kind of violent here, and stabbed, juked the father in the head. So Gray Cloud, the was supposed to be the sympathetic, right? Stereotypical, oh my goodness, the white man took their land. Gray Cloud, right? Drew a knife and juke, stabbed the father in the head, fracturing his left orbital and cutting a tendon in his hand. A teenage boy then shoved Gray Cloud, the with parentheses Native American, out of the home and locked the door. Gray Cloud was arrested later that night. This matter was prosecuted by such and such personnel because the Major Crimes Act, a federal statute, authorizes certain crimes alleged to have occurred in Indian country, to be prosecuted in federal court as opposed to state court. Right? But at the same time, right? But the white man took our land, right? The white man took our land. But at the same time, when you see stuff like this happen, you see how that disturbing tactic goes, right? But at the same time, when you start talking about what about the Native Americans that sit there and were putting Black Americans in enslavement? Oh, it's all kind of excuses going on left and right, right? I did let me share a screen right quick. I did a podcast the other day about Terrence Crawford, great boxing champion, multi-level belt champions, right? And unfortunately, he seems to be a good-hearted person. Fortunately, that part, but unfortunately, he was used by what we call Native Americans in certain type situations, right? Let me just play it real fast.
Which led to press conferences with the police chief and mayor, and even a change to how officers conduct traffic stops. Tonight, Bud wanted to shift the focus back to the community, and the organization honoring him was eager to do the same. First Alert 6's Andrew Pfeiffer has the story.
He really has brought is a light that has shined for all of us.
This is the highest honor.
3 weeks after the city threw him a celebratory parade for capturing 3 unified division boxing titles, Bud Crawford is back in Omaha. Tonight, he was bestowed one of the highest honors from the Omaha tribe.
I'm feeling great, for Indian Reservation to look at me and honor me with, the things that they feel have never been given to somebody else outside of, the reservation.
Bud Crawford may not even realize he might or might not have some type of Black Native within him. Or maybe from some other type of what we call wink wink Native tribes. Now, somebody probably asked Bud Crawford, Terrence Crawford, that, hey man, have you did a genealogy test on that? Probably gonna say no. What I make this point is that Black Americans are told overall to just get over the past, while other people can talk about their past, right? That's some disgusting demonic tactics. And unfortunately, because of so much Black pain that millions are affected, Black Americans affected every day in psychological trauma, right? No reparations whatsoever. But we call Native Americans, which is a whole different games that they are playing, the ones who play every day. I'm not going to go into all that, right? But let's be best to believe there are a lot of games that they are playing, right? Again, let's not talk about the $5 Indians, right, that put themselves on certain type of roads that was controlled by certain type of Anglos. And how many of them would disguise themselves as Native Americans, and their Anglo counterparts gave them a few dollars and put themselves on certain type of Native American roles and call themselves Native Americans. But you got people who know they are, even within certain types of Black Americanism, one this applies to, they ain't got a problem with calling those people pretendians, right? But the minute some type of Black American, right, says, hey, they also have some Black nativeness as well. You know, there's Black tribes out there tell you, what are you talking about? You know, we were not enslaved or what? I'm not going to all that argument. Right. The point is they're saying, look, there are Black Native tribes, but you got people that be like, well, they all this, Dodd Dawson world. And you're like, what are you talking about? That's Native Black tribes over there. They may not be some gigantic amount. So to what? But you see how this game goes, right? It's just like you got people act like Black Americans don't have a history, regardless that Black Americans just showed up out of nowhere. God. But the person who has the most crimes of hate crimes put upon them in America is Black Americans. The most lynched people in America is Black Americans. The person who's had the most laws and policies put upon them, hatred laws and policies put upon them, is Black Americans. But no reparations. But you got people saying, I ain't got anything to do with slavery. What about after slavery, fool? Right? What about the 1900s? Former segregation, lynching still, hateful numbers of political figures, the ones applies to, right? What about that? Going to the early 21st century, still numbers of lynchings toward Black American males and some Black American women, right? Numbers of bad seeds sitting there doing bad things to sit there Black Americans, right? Numbers of other cultures showing Black American hatred, and Black Americans are the most openest people. What about that? Nope. But the foundation is within Americanism, right, was built upon Black Americans, right? And you got people that utilize the 14th Amendment of the Constitution that are supposed to be finally supposed to give across the board citizenship to Black Americans finally. But nope, they diluted down. Now you got other people utilizing the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, right? But again, reparations for what we call Native Americans, left and right, even they say, show me one full-blooded Native American that's been alive for 200 years from the Trail of Tears days. Show me one. No. But they get numbers of them get reparations. And the same people that got a problem with Black Americans get reparations are quiet on what we call wink wink Native Americans get reparations. For the people like that, go to with that hypocrisy. I thank you for tuning in to the Real CP show.